Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really fascinating piece from historian Heather Cox Richardson. She explores a political reality that is so strange it can actually break an AI. So we're going to break down her analysis of how this reality gets shaped, bought, and ultimately sold to us.
Okay, so let's jump right in with this really bizarre story that Heather Cox Richardson brings up. It's all about an AI that was asked to make sense of the American government, and, well, what happened next says a lot about our media landscape today. So, a journalist, G. Elliot Morris, was writing an article, and he asked ChatGPT to give it a quick fact check. And the response he got back was pretty wild. The AI basically said, nope, can't do it. It flagged his reporting because it supposedly contained multiple factual impossibilities. So you gotta ask, right? What on earth were these impossible facts? Well, here's the kicker. The AI just could not compute these statements as being real. It literally flagged them as fiction. But, and this is the key thing Heather Cox Richardson points out, every single one of those statements is a fact. They're describing the 2025 Trump administration. Think about that for a second. Our reality has become so unbelievable that an AI, a machine built on logic, just classifies it as an error. And that right there, that's the central question of this whole piece. How did we get here? How did we get to a point where our political reality is so strange, so unbelievable, that a machine literally designed to process information just throws up its hands and says, this can't be real? So, to get to the bottom of this, Heather Cox Richardson directs our attention to a new academic paper. And what it suggests is pretty powerful. This confusion, it's not some random accident. It's the direct result of a very specific and, yeah, a very profitable media business strategy. Just look at this slide. It lays out a huge disconnect, right? The research is clear. Most voters are worried about what you might call kitchen table issues, the economy, jobs, healthcare. But then you flip on cable news, and what do you see? It's an overwhelming, nonstop focus on the culture war, things like race, crime, immigration. So why the gap? I mean, what's going on here? Well, according to the research that Richardson highlights, it all boils down to one thing: money. Plain and simple. Culture war content is just more profitable. It gets people fired up, it brings in viewers who might not tune in for a dry discussion on economic policy, it just builds a bigger audience.
And the research gets even more specific. This whole effect, it's almost entirely, maybe even entirely driven by one network, Fox News. And here's the crucial part. By focusing so much on culture war stuff, they're not just reflecting what voters care about, they're actually shaping it. They have the power to change what becomes a priority. Now, what's really interesting is that, as Heather Cox Richardson explains, this whole media strategy, it's not new at all. In fact, its roots go way back, more than 50 years, to one political campaign that basically changed the game. This quote, this gets right to the heart of it. This was the playbook for Richard Nixon's 1968 campaign. His advisors, including a guy you might have heard of named Roger Ailes, they had a realization. They figured out you could sell a candidate not by appealing to logic or reason, but by hitting people right in their emotions. It wasn't about winning an argument. It was about creating a feeling, an impression. And Roger Ailes, wow. He spent the next 30 years just perfecting this emotional approach. I mean, from packaging Nixon for TV, to producing that infamous Willie Horton ad, to creating a show for Rush Limbaugh, he was constantly selling this one powerful narrative, that hardworking white Americans were getting a raw deal from Democrats, minorities, and women. And all of that work, all of that strategy, it all culminated in him launching the Fox News channel. Okay, so this all builds up to Ailes' core belief, his central philosophy for media. It's a simple and pretty cynical rule for how to grab the spotlight and make sure you get coverage every single time. He called it the orchestra pit theory. And it's a really blunt but powerful idea. Basically, spectacle always wins. Controversy, drama, shock, that stuff will always beat out a serious discussion about policy when it comes to getting on the news. The guy who falls in the orchestra pit? Yeah, he's going to be the lead story. And you know what? Ailes was totally open about this. He didn't see the news as some kind of public service, a pillar of democracy. Nope. As he told a reporter once, running Fox News was no different than running a Dairy Queen. It's a business. It's about customers, marketing, making money, and winning. That's it. So, this is where Heather Cox Richardson ties it all together. This entire history, from Nixon to Ailes to the orchestra pit theory, she connects it directly to the political reality we're living in today. We're at a point where this media strategy isn't just influencing politics anymore, it has become politics. Think about this. The goal isn't just to get good press anymore. The White House has basically become its own media company. As Richardson reports, allies of the administration literally describe it as a major information content provider, creating its own reality with this stated goal of, and I'm quoting here, full spectrum dominance. And look, this is not just some abstract idea. Heather Cox Richardson points out that this fight for the narrative is happening right now, out in the open, in the corporate world. There's a hostile takeover of CNN's parent company in the works, and the financing? Reportedly, it involves Jared Kushner and funds from Saudi Arabia and Qatar. The alleged goal? To make sweeping changes to CNN. So, to bring this all home, Heather Cox Richardson leaves us with this really powerful parallel from history. She takes us back over a century ago to another time of intense political corruption, a period known as the Gilded Age. Back in 1903, a magazine called McClure's did something pretty radical. In one single issue, they published 3 different investigative pieces that exposed corruption at every single level of society. We're talking big business, city government, even labor unions. And that reporting, it just electrified the whole country. It actually helped kick off a huge wave of reform. And as the editor, a man named S.S. McClure, looked out at this landscape of what he saw as total decay, he asked a really simple but kind of haunting question. If everyone, capitalists, politicians, workers, citizens, is either breaking the law or letting it be broken, who's left to uphold it? And here's the answer he came up with. This is the final, really provocative thought that Heather Cox Richardson leaves us to chew on. There is no one left, none but all of us. When the institutions we count on start to fail, the responsibility, well, it doesn't just vanish. It falls right back onto our shoulders. All of us.